Have you ever met someone so unapologetically real that it made people uncomfortable? Someone who speaks with no filter, lives with no mask, and succeeds without fitting the mold. In a world built on image, Cardi B is too real, and that's exactly why she's so misunderstood. But behind the wigs, the lyrics, and the headlines is a living paradox, one that challenges our beliefs about power, intelligence, authenticity, and the soul. This isn't a video about celebrity gossip, it's about something deeper. Cardi B forces us to confront a cultural and philosophical truth. Society doesn't really want authenticity. It wants a curated version of it, palatable, polished, and safe. Cardi is none of those things. She is raw emotion in motion, and like all unfiltered truths, she's both magnetic and divisive. To understand her, you have to think like a philosopher. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote, "No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." That's Cardi B. From stripping to Grammy stages, she has owned her past, her accent, her rage, and her vulnerability. But in a culture obsessed with transformation, Cardi refuses to be anything other than herself. That terrifies people, because she reminds us of the parts of ourselves we try to hide. Psychologically, this is what Carl Jung called the shadow self, the repressed, hidden aspects of our psyche. Cardi B speaks from her shadow and owns it. When she's angry, she shows it. When she's hurt, she posts it. When she's messy, she laughs at it. In doing so, she gives people permission to be human. And yet, that same honesty threatens the illusion of perfection we build online. We scroll through filters. She screams through chaos. We play roles. She plays herself. But why does society punish that kind of rawness? Why do people accuse Cardi of being too much? Arthur Schopenhauer, the dark philosopher of pessimism, believed the more clearly you see reality, the more isolated you become. Cardi isn't ratchet because she's unintelligent. She's disruptive because she refuses to be polite in a world that rewards politeness over truth. The truth is, Cardi is a mirror, and mirrors don't lie, they just reflect. When she says something wild, we laugh, but we also flinch, because in that laugh is discomfort. In that flinch is recognition. She shows us what it looks like when someone refuses to dim their light for our comfort. And let's not pretend she's not intelligent. Cardi B may not speak in academic language, but her intelligence is intuitive, strategic, and sharp. She understands attention, timing, audience psychology, far better than most media executives. And like Socrates, who walked barefoot through Athens questioning everything, Cardi uses her platform to question the double standards of race, gender, fame, and femininity. But that questioning comes at a price. Philosopher Simone de Beauvoir wrote, "One is not born, but rather becomes a woman." Cardi B didn't become the kind of woman society asked for. She became the kind that breaks molds, loud, sexual, ambitious, emotional, powerful. In other words, dangerous. Because what happens when a woman reclaims her rage? What happens when she profits off the very body that others tried to shame her for? It makes people deeply uncomfortable. And discomfort leads to criticism. But this isn't new. Socrates made people uncomfortable, and they made him drink poison. Galileo made people uncomfortable, and they locked him away. Cardi makes people uncomfortable, so they meme her, mock her, and try to cancel her. And yet, she wins. Because her power doesn't come from pleasing the world. It comes from refusing to be shaped by it. Let's pause for a second. You don't have to agree with everything Cardi B says or does. You're allowed to cringe. But ask yourself, why does she make you cringe? Is it because she's too loud? Or because she's saying something you were taught not to say? The discomfort is revealing. It tells us more about our biases than about her behavior. Cardi B lives at the intersection of spirituality and spectacle. She believes in God, talks to her ancestors, and thanks the universe, right before dropping a beat about sex, money, or betrayal. This isn't hypocrisy, it's honesty. It's what mystics and philosophers call the unity of opposites. Light and dark, sacred and profane. WAP and wisdom. We are all contradictions, but only a few are honest about it. So what can we learn from Cardi B, not just as a pop star, but as a cultural philosopher? First, authenticity is painful. It will cost you approval, but it will give you power. Second, intelligence wears many faces. Don't confuse grammar with insight. And third, don't be afraid to be too much in a world that asks you to be less. Cardi B doesn't fit into the clean boxes we've built for women, for celebrities, or for thinkers. And that's exactly why she matters. She is the chaos that breaks illusion, the storm that reveals what we hide, and the voice that reminds us. Being loud can be a form of healing. In philosophy, the truth is often found in paradox. Cardi B is a paradox. She's the stripper who quotes politics, the millionaire who talks about depression, the celebrity who's still real enough to clap back on Twitter. She teaches us that healing isn't always quiet. Sometimes it's loud. Sometimes it twerks. We live in a world addicted to appearances. But Cardi B is a force of presence. And presence, when it's unfiltered, is radical. She doesn't give us a brand, she gives us a being. And in doing so, she reminds us that philosophy isn't confined to books. It can live in beats, bars, and Bronx slang. So the next time you hear her voice, don't just listen to the volume. Listen to the courage behind it, the pain it carries, the freedom it refuses to hide. And if you find yourself judging, look inward. Because maybe she's not being too real. Maybe we've just gotten too used to fake. In the end, Cardi B teaches us what Socrates, Nietzsche, and Jung tried to say: the truth will not always be polite. The soul will not always be quiet. And the thinkers who change the world? They're not always wearing robes. Sometimes they wear Fashion Nova and red bottoms. If you've ever been told you're too much, too loud, too sensitive, too emotional, too real, you're in good company, because in a world built on illusions, being too real is revolutionary. If this video made you think differently about Cardi B or about yourself, share it. Because somewhere out there is another voice, another soul being told to shrink. And they need to hear that there is power in being seen exactly as you are. Too real, too loud, too human. Just like Cardi. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.